Welcome to the Ben Mulroney Show on this Monday, June 23rd. I want to welcome everybody to the show. And I think a lot of us over the weekend were holding our breath, wondering if another shoe was going to drop as it relates to the expansion of hostilities in the Middle East to now include Iran. Over the past couple of weeks, I have watched in amazement with the surgical precision and the sophistication with which Israel has weakened the Iranian regime by targeting its nuclear facilities and the leadership of the IRGC, as well as those members involved with its nuclear program. But one of the biggest sticking points was obviously what to do with the nuclear facilities that were buried deep underground, 300 feet underground. Well, enter the United States with its bunker busting technology and really setting back that regime's nuclear ambitions. I mean, I don't know if it takes it right back to the beginning or pretty gosh darn close. But obviously, when the United States decides it's going to bomb another nation, people will take positions. And in the world that we're living in, anything that the Americans do is bad, and anything that they do it to, any country that they do it to, is the hero of the story, according to a certain type of social justice warrior. So the battle lines were drawn, and those who found themselves on either side, very predictable. Well, there are some surprises. There's some people on the right in the United States who are so isolationist that they're taking issue with this as well. But one of the questions that I have that we will be exploring on the Ben Mulroney Show in the next few days and weeks is, in the event of regime change in Iran, what comes next? And a lot of people who are taking issue with the weakening of that regime by Israel and the United States is that it's such an unknown that we could find ourselves in a situation like Afghanistan, where what replaces it is worse than what we had before. I challenge that. I dispute that. I may be wrong. I'm one man with just one opinion, but the known threat of what we actually have, the bird in the hand of the IRGC and the Ayatollahs, is just about as bad as it can be. And there is a history of secular government in Iran that exists bubbling under the surface. And there is an argument to be made that the people of Iran are not represented by the regime of Iran. And therefore, if given the chance, then a more rational, better faith actor in a new secular government could arise. And I would rather take that risk than live in a world where Iran was this close to getting a nuclear weapon. Now, it's not a straight line from turning the bad guy into a good guy. And the previous regime in Iran was run by the And the Shah had some good days and he had a lot of bad days. And you could argue that the reaction to the Shah was the Iranian Revolution of 1979. He effed around and we found out. And so a lot of people are apprehensive when his son, Reza Pahlavi, the exiled son of the last Shah of Iran, starts popping up on people's social media feeds, because some people are, I think, rightly apprehensive that we could be witnessing a return to essentially a king in Iran. And I don't know that that's what people want. However, in my estimation, this man has been saying a lot of the right things. He said in a speech over the weekend, "This is our Berlin Wall moment," which is a powerful metaphor that we could be on the cusp of the falling of the wall that the Iranian regime has put up between them and the rest of the world. He said, "The people are united. The foundations of this 46-year-old tyranny are shaking." He says, "I do not seek political power, but rather to help our great nation navigate through this critical hour towards stability, freedom, and justice." That is something I am very happy to hear. Perhaps he holds a figurehead role. Perhaps he helps with the transition. Perhaps he's a spokesperson for whatever comes next. Perhaps he's that galvanizing force that the democratic forces can marshal and rally around. I don't know. But him going on record saying he does not seek political power is, I think, what people want to be hearing in this moment. But back to the military action, rather, of the weekend. Here's the U.S. Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, on war with Iran.
As President Trump has stated, the United States does not seek war. But let me be clear. We will act swiftly and decisively when our people, our partners, or our interests are threatened. Iran should listen to the President of the United States and know that he means it, every word. I want to give congratulations to our Commander-in-Chief. It was an honor to watch him lead last night and throughout, and to our great American warriors on this successful operation. God bless our troops. God bless America. And we give glory to God for his providence and continue to ask for his protection.
All right. A little bit over the top near the end there, but I do completely appreciate the fact that this was a demonstration of U.S. military sophistication and might. And Iran, even before the decapitation of so much of its leadership by Israel and the bombing of its nuclear facilities, even before that, they weren't playing the same game as the Americans. And they would be demonstrating just how insane of a regime they actually have if they decide to try to go toe-to-toe and reciprocate with the Americans. That would be a bad move. Now, that being said, the UN Secretary General, who's essentially the the CEO of an organization devoted to moral and political equivalency, where everybody is the same and nobody is better than anybody else. We're all just different. The Iranian regime isn't worse than America. It isn't better than America or worse than America. It's just different, which I reject categorically. And he suggests that the bombing was a perilous turn. I dispute that. I challenge that. Now, I'm not suggesting I'm 100% right, but I think this guy has lost the plot. If you want to hear moral clarity, if you want to understand why this happened, with no BS, no spin, no political correctness, just cutting to the quick, here is Marco Rubio explaining very clearly why the United States did what they did.
Let me follow up on a phrase you just word, weaponization ambitions. Are you saying there that the United States did not see intelligence that the Supreme Leader had ordered weaponization?
That's irrelevant. I think that question being asked in the media, that's an irrelevant question.
No,
they have
that is
everything
the
they need
key
to build
point
a weapon.
in U.S. intelligence assessments. You know
no,
that.
No, it's not.
Yes, it was.
No, it's
that
not.
The political decision had not been made.
I know that better than you know that, and I know that that's not the case.
But I'm asking you whether the order was given.
And the people who say that, it doesn't matter if the order was given. They have everything they need to build nuclear weapons. Why would you bury things in a mountain, 300 feet under the ground?
Right.
Why would you bury why do they have 60% enriched uranium? You don't need 60% enriched uranium. The only countries in the world that have uranium at 60% are countries that have nuclear weapons.
He also went on to say, why do they have a space program? Is Iran planning to go to the moon? No, it's because they are building intercontinental ballistic missiles so that they can deliver nuclear warheads anywhere on the planet. You don't need... Sometimes the people who are the smartest ones in the room try to talk themselves out of the most direct route to a conclusion. And when you see those three pieces, that is evidence of nefarious intent. I don't need a document that says, oh, we heard them say we're building a nuclear weapon. And this is not, by the way, anyone who suggests that this is the same thing as what happened before the Second Gulf War, when the Americans falsely claimed that Iraq had weapons of mass destruction. This is not that. Like, we need to talk to each other like we're not idiots. And anybody who tells me that with that evidence and the rhetoric of that regime and the behavior of that regime, anybody who tells me that they are not seeking a nuclear weapon, you're talking to me like I'm an idiot, and I don't stand for that. And meanwhile, the protests are out in full force across North America because, again, if the Jews are involved, if Israel is involved, if the imperialist forces of America are involved, that means those that they are against are noble, and they are righteous, and they are just, and they need the support of the useful idiots, of which there are far too many across the Western world. Thanks so much for watching the show. Now, if you enjoyed what you saw, hit that subscribe button so you never miss another episode of The Ben Mulroney Show.